Hello everyone and welcome to the best things that you can do in the Troodos Mountains. So the Troodos Mountains cover most of the western part of Cyprus, and they're actually the highest mountains on the island. And I think they often get overlooked in favour of Cyprus's beautiful beaches, which in my opinion is a huge mistake, because these mountains are one of the most beautiful and diverse regions on the island. So obviously the Troodos Mountains are a hiker's paradise, so I want to start this video with one of my favourite hikes. And that is this, a 12-kilometer loop that takes you through pine forests, rocky slopes, and gives you stunning views of the valleys below. We actually attempted this hike 3 different times throughout our year in Cyprus, and every single time we got caught in a storm around halfway through.
I think I need to sit like this.
Next up, we are heading to one of the most impressive and famous monasteries in Cyprus, and that is Kykkos Monastery. It was founded back in the 11th century, and today the monastery is still as beautiful as ever. On to another hike now, and this one is to the Caledonia Waterfall. This is one of the highest waterfalls in Cyprus at 12 meters high. The waterfall is named after a group of Scottish travellers who visited it in 1878, and they were reminded of their homeland by its beauty. To reach the waterfall, you follow along a scenic trail that goes through a forest, following the river. The hike to Caledonia Waterfall begins from the village of Pano Platres, which is definitely the place to be if you're into hiking, because so many of the hikes in these mountains begin from this very place. The first is a real short but steep hike to a very hidden gem. This is Milia Bridge, which is a medieval stone bridge that crosses a stream in this lush valley. And the other hike is to yet another waterfall, and this one looks like it's straight out of a fantasy film set, and it's almost hidden away in its very own valley, which means you might have a little bit of trouble finding it, but it is so worth it once you do. It's time now for my favourite hike within the Troodos Mountains, and this one is so good that I wanted to give you an even more in-depth look at it. So let's rewind a few months ago when we hiked the Artemis Trail. So this route surrounds the peak of Olympus, and so the average altitude of this route is 1,850 meters above sea level.
Apparently there's a giant pine tree around here, so I'm trying to look for it.
And it's actually over 500 years old. We're just searching for definitely the most historically interesting site on this hike, which is the walls of Old Chora. These were actually one of the last fortifications that were made during the last years of the Venetian rule. And it was essentially a lookout point to watch out for Ottoman invasions.
Nuts.
So I think what you can see behind me is just direct proof that the views from here are incredible. I mean, it's really interesting. It makes Cyprus seem even smaller than it is. Now onto our next stop, which is located over in the Paphos Forest part of the Troodos Mountains. And here you can pay your respects to the first president of Cyprus, who was Archbishop Makarios III. Makarios was not only a political leader but also a religious figure who served as the Archbishop of the Cypriot Orthodox Church from 1950 to 1977. He died in 1977 and was buried here, where he had requested to be laid to rest. Next up, we're heading to one of the many beautiful villages in these mountains, and this was really difficult to narrow down, but I chose Omodos. It's a charming village well known for its wine production. It's full of stone-built houses, narrow streets, and if you're visiting here, make sure to see the Monastery of the Holy Cross as well. Now we are starting to get towards the end of this video now, but I wanted to give you a few more ideas about the best ways that you can explore these mountains. I would say the best way to see as much as possible is to drive, and that means that you can stop at the various viewpoints that offer breathtaking views of the landscape. There are so many of these viewpoints that you will see just dotted at the side of the road, and there's always some parking available, so just pull over and take a minute to admire the stunning views. There are also a lot of hidden locations you can find here that aren't even listed on maps. Take this for example. We were exploring the area around the town of Troodos, which is another great place to explore and hike around, by the way. And whilst driving past the town, we spotted what looked like a massive house on the hills above. So we hiked up there to get a closer look and discovered this. I couldn't find out who it belonged to or what it was, but today it is actually a sanctuary for bats, as there aren't many natural caves in the rocks of the Troodos Mountains for bats to rest in. So now they have this whole house, which to be honest is arguably better. These bats are really living like kings, I think. So all the locations mentioned in this video have been in the main part of the Troodos Mountains, but these mountains are so large that I wanted to give a few honourable mentions that are over in the eastern part. Firstly, I want to talk about Fikardou, which is a small village that has preserved its traditional architecture. Many of the houses lie abandoned today, but there are still a few people living in this village, and what you get is this really unique, half-abandoned village that is remarkably well preserved for its age. Another favourite hidden gem of mine is Xyliatos Dam. We were living in Nicosia for the year that we spent in Cyprus, and this place is actually pretty close to Nicosia, around a 30-minute drive, so we used to come here all the time. As soon as we needed a break from the busy city, this was the place to go. It has beautiful views all the way around the lake. The hike around it takes around an hour. It really is so peaceful. And that summarizes the video. If you do want to see more places from all over Cyprus, please do feel free to click on my full Cyprus playlist that you can see here. We have videos from Nicosia, Larnaca, Limassol, Paphos, the Akamas Peninsula, Ayia Napa, Cape Greco, pretty much every part of Cyprus that you could think of. I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about the Troodos Mountains. Please subscribe if you did enjoy it, want to see more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.